Hello guys, welcome to Smoy Samuel Math Tutorials. So today's lesson we're going to talk about the statistic which is for grade 10. So as I've listed all the questions that are asked in the exam, but these questions which I've listed here, they are on question 1. Remember for statistic, it's question 1 and question 2, right? Whereby question 2 is what? It's all about the table, right? So there will be the next video whereby I'll be doing listing all the questions that you need to expect from the table. So now, which is question 2. So for now, we are going to focus on what? On question 1. So the questions that I've listed here are the questions that you need to expect from question 1 in statistic, right? So the examiner is going to choose from all these questions from question 1 to 9, right? So meaning if you know all these questions from question 1 to 9, already you have 90 plus of question 1, meaning already you have 95% of question 1, because from question 1 he might bring other new thing which maybe, but then it won't contain more than 5 marks, so it will be 3 marks maybe. So but these are the major questions which the examiner always choose from there. So we're given the example here, which is 1, 5, 7, 9, 9, 10 and 15. So we are going to use this example to solve these questions from 1 to 9. So the first question is determine what? The mode, right? So what is the mode, guys? A mode is the number which occurs the most, right? So we're going to check from the data set that we're given that which number occurs the most. We can see that 1 it occurs 1, 5 once, 7 once, 9 twice, 10 once, 15 once. So meaning the number which occurs the most from the data set is what? It's 9. So therefore we write it down. Then we're done with question 1. The second question is determine the mean, or the examiner can say determine the average, because he now knows that okay, students know what is mean. So let me treat them by using what? The average. So whenever you hear this way, determine the average, just know that he wants you to calculate what? The mean. So how do we determine the mean? The mean is the average of the data set. So we determine it by what? By adding all the data set and dividing by what? By the total number of the data set. So this is how we determine the mean or the average. We are going to add all the data set, which is 1 plus 5, 7 plus 9 plus 9 plus 10 plus 50, right? Therefore divide by 1. Therefore, we count all the data set that we have, or we count the numbers that we have in the data set that we're given, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Therefore, we're going to divide by what? By 7. Then we're going to see that our final answer is going to be 8. Then we are done by determining what? The average, or what? The mean. So whenever you determine the mean, you add all the data set and divide by the total number of the data set, right? So now we are coming to determine the median. So the examiner can say determine the median or determine Q2. So like I said, the examiner knows now that okay, students know what is the median. So let me treat them by using what? Q2. Sometimes it's going to use what? Q2. We'll just say determine Q2. So whenever they say determine Q2, just know that they are talking about what? The median. So how do we determine the median? The first thing first, determining the median, it's very important, guys, to list your data set in what? In ascending order, meaning from the smallest number to the biggest number. So that is the important thing that you need to do before you can calculate the median. So meaning for median, the first thing that you need to do is to check whether your data set is in ascending order, meaning the numbers are from the smallest to the biggest. So if you can check our numbers, okay, means there's no need for us to rearrange it because already it's being arranged from the smallest number to the biggest number. So how do we determine the median or Q2? So determining the median or Q2, this is the formula that we are going to use, which is 1 over 2 into n plus 1, right? So this formula that we are going to use here is the navigate, which it tells us where we are going to find our median. Also, okay, this n, guys, first thing, this n, it represents what? The total number of the data set. Remember, from the median, we divided by what? By the total number of the data set, which is what? It's 7. This is what n means. N means the total number of the data set. So meaning you're going to count all the data set. If it's 7, then from n you're going to replace n with what? With 7. So if we calculate Q2, which is known as the median, it's 1 all over 2 into n. Like I said, it represents what? The total number of the data set, which is what? Which is 7. Therefore, plus 1 is equals to. Therefore, we're going to find that our answer is going to be so our answer is what, guys? Our answer is going to be 4. So we are not done, like I said. So after finding this 4, like I said, that this formula represents what is the navigator, whereby it tells you where your median is. So meaning our median is on the 4th position. So we're going to count the data set that we have. So whenever we arrive to 4, that's where our median is. So the first one is 1, then we have 2, we have 3 and 4, and we can see that 4 is what? It's 9, right? So meaning our median is going to be what? It's going to be 9, right? So let me repeat it again so that you can understand. This formula of 1 over 2 into n plus 1 is the navigator, whereby it tells you or it directs you where you're going to find your median, right? So after using this formula, we found that our answer is what? It's 4. This 4 that you found here is not the answer of the median, but then it tells you where the median is. So it's what? It tells you that your median is where? On the 4th position. So you're going to count the data set that you are given. So if whenever you arrive on the 4th position, that's where your median is, right? So we can see that the first one is what? It's 1. The second one is what? It's 5. The third one is 7. The fourth one is what? It's 9, right? So that's where our median is. So that's why we write 9. So the answer of Q2 is what? It's 9, not 4, right? I hope it's clear. So this is how we determine Q2. But then let's talk about let's say our data set is even. We can see that this data set is it's odd because we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. It's 7, right? So let's say we have 1 5 7 and 8, right? And then we are instructed to find the median. So if we're instructed to find the median, okay, let me write example here. If we're instructed to find the median of 1 5 7 and 8, we know that we're going to use that formula, which is 1 over 2 into how many data set, the total number of the data set that we have here. It's 1 2 3 4. We can see that it's what? It's 4. Therefore plus 1 all over. Therefore, the answer is going to be, 2.5, right? You can see that the answer is going to be 2.5. So where are we going to get 2.5? So now we start counting. We have 1, 2, and then this is 3. So meaning 2.5 is between what? 5 and 7, right? So meaning we're going to add these values, which is 5 and 7. We're going to say 5 plus 7 divided by what? By 2. So this is going to give us the final answer, which is what? It's 6, right? So meaning if you are given the even number, or if your data set is even, obviously the answer which you're going to get whenever you calculate your Q2 is going to be 2.5. And if you calculate if you count your data set, you can see that we have 1, 5, 7, and 8. We don't have 1.5 or 2.5. But then we know that from 2.5, where are we going to get 2.5? We're going to say first position, the second position, and then the third position, meaning, and then we can see that 2.5 is where it's between what? 5 and 7, because here is the what? Is the second position, and then this what is what? It's the third position, meaning 2.5 is going to be in the middle of what? Of 5 and 7. So because of it's in the middle of 5 and 7, we're going to add that 5 and 7 and divide by what? 2. Then that is what is going to give us the final answer of what? Of Q2. Whenever your data set is what? It's even, right? So I'm just going to erase it. I just wanted to show you whenever your data set is even, this is how you calculate it. So yeah guys, so now let's continue. So you saw that whenever your data set is even, that is how you calculate it. So now let's come to determine the lower quartile or Q1. So how do we determine Q1? Also Q1 has the formula, whereby we call that formula what? The navigator. For Q1, the formula of it is 1 all over 4 into n plus 1, right? So like I said, we now know what n is. N is the total number of the data set, right? So we're going to have 1 all over 4 into 7 plus 1, right? Which is equals to, and then we check, which is going to give us 2, right? So whenever it gives us 2, remember that we are not done. After finding this 2, it tell us what? It tell us that the Q1 is in the second position. So we're going to count. So the first position, which is 1, the second position is what? Is 5. So that's where we're going to get what? Our Q1. So meaning our Q1 is what? It's 5, right? So now we come to the lower quartile range. Okay, the upper quartile range. Remember Q1 is represented by what? The lower quartile range. So the examiner can say determine Q1 or determine the lower quartile range, right? So for question 5, the question will say determine the upper quartile or determine Q3. So whenever they say Q3, just know they're talking about what? The upper quartile. So how do you determine the upper quartile? Also the upper quartile, it is the formula. The formula of upper quartile, which is we call it the formula of the navigator, is 3 over 4 into n plus 1. So meaning guys, you need to memorize these formulas, right? So 3 over 4 into n plus 1, we know that what n represents, therefore we're going to have 3 over 4 into what is n? N is 7 plus 1 all over. The answer is 6, right? So remember, we are not done. After finding this answer, we know that this 6, it represents what? It tells us that our Q3 is in the 6th position. So we're going to count our data set, and when we arrive to 6, that's where we're going to get what? Our Q3. So the first position, you can see that it's 1, therefore 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can see that our Q3 is what? Is 10, right? So therefore we are done finding what? Q3. So okay guys, Q2, Q1, Q3, we have formulas that we use to find what? The values. And then those formulas, they are called what? Are the navigator formulas, or what? Or you can say the GPS formulas. It tells you where you're going to find your what? Your values, right? So now let's go to determining the interquartile range. How do we determine the interquartile range? Remember, the examiner can say determine the interquartile range or determine IQR. So whenever it says determine IQR, just know that it's talking about what? The interquartile range. So how do we determine the interquartile range? The formula of determining the interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1. You need to know these formulas, guys. You need to know this formula. Determining the interquartile range is Q3 minus Q. So meaning you can't calculate the interquartile range if you don't know how to calculate Q3 and Q1, because we are going to use Q3 and Q1 to find what? The interquartile range. So now we know what is Q3, right? Our Q3 is going to give us what? We know that it's 10 minus what is Q1? We can see that it's 5. So therefore 10 minus 5 is going to give us what? 5, right? Therefore we are done with the interquartile range. So now we are coming to listing the 5 number summary. How do we list the 5 number summary? The 5 number summary is represented by its mean, it's Q1, Q2, Q3, lastly it's maxima, right? So meaning whenever they want you to list the 5 number summary, you need to list what? You need to write down the mean, the value of the mean, the value of Q1, the value of Q2, the value of Q3, and the value of what? Of maxima. So what is the mean? We know that the mean is the smallest number in the data set, which is, if we can check our data set, the smallest number is what? It's 1. So therefore that we are going to write 1. What is Q1? We already calculated Q1, which is 5, right? What is Q2? Already calculated Q2, which is 9. Q3 is 10. What about the maximum? Maximum is represented by what? The highest number in the data set. We can see that it's what? It's 50. Therefore, you are done listing your 5 number summary. So meaning the 5 number summary it's what? It's mean, it's minimum, Q1, Q2, Q3, and maximum. Okay, guys. So for recap, so for drawing a box and whisker diagram and describing the skewness of the data, I'm going to do a video. The next lesson, it will be about drawing a box and whisker diagram and also describing the skewness of the data, because I can see that time there. So okay, so for recap, determining the mode, we know how to determine the mode, right? And the determining the mean and average, we know that whenever we determine, the examiner will say determine the mean or determine what? The average. And how do we determine them? We add all the number of the data set and divide by what? By the total number of the data set. So I want us to focus more on Q2, Q1, and Q3. Q2, remember this formula, it's 1 over 2 into n plus 1. I said this formula, it represents what? It's the navigator formula. It tells you the answer which you're going to get after using this formula is the position of where you're going to get your Q2. So as we used this formula, we found that our answer is what? It's 4. And then we said that this 4, it represents what? Is the meaning our Q2 is in what? Is in the fourth position in the data set. So how do we get the fourth position? We are going to count. Then after counting, we found that okay, the fourth value is what? It's 9. That means it's represented by what? It's Q2. And also for Q1, that's how we do it. After finding the value, if it's 2, then you're going to count. Then okay, we have 1, 2. And then whenever it's our data set it's even, like let's say you're calculating Q2 and then you find that it's 9.5. We know what we do, right? So if it's 2.5, then we're going to calculate, okay, we're going to count it's 1 and 2, and then we can see 2 is on the 5th position, and then 3 is on the 3rd position. So meaning we're going to take 5 and 7 and divide by, add them and divide by 1 by 2. That's what we did. And we know that the interquartile range, it's represented by what? Q3 minus Q1. So meaning you can calculate the interquartile range if you don't know Q3 and Q1, right? So you need to know all those values to calculate what? The interquartile range. So I'm going to do another videos whereby um like the examples of how to answer these questions. But then all these things from question 1 to 9, this is what you need to know from question 1. So I now believe that you have 95 plus in the exam. So if you have anything that you need to understand or that I didn't explain well, you can leave a comment behind. And guys, let's not forget to subscribe. Let's subscribe and also tell our friends that there is this guy who's helping people. And lastly, share the link, like and subscribe. Thank you guys.